It's terrible. But then it's not so much of an issue.
It's expensive.
But we can get you a sheet. We do it in our office. I will get you a sheet. I will get you a sheet. I'll go and
I've spoken to him before. He's a very nice man. Yes. What was that? Oh, he's not dressed up. It's a good thing. Yes.
It's because the state changed.
You never know what. Is she?
She might be in the mall.
I couldn't remember what she was over. Got 10?
how many vacants? So it's 22.
I'll speak with you after.
What you're saying.
For the you should have found it for education.
Oh, you were saying.
Good afternoon, everyone. We will go ahead and bring this to order. So it is 12:04, and we will call this meeting to order. So we will start off with consideration for approval for the minutes. Can I get a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
It has been moved in second. Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, can we take a vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Against? And it passes. Thank you. Okay. Okay. So I want to thank you all again for being here today. I know this has been crazy last few weeks trying to squeeze all this in. There have been just a couple of oversights that we need to correct in time for the DOC grant. And so for those purposes, just to show that we do have a quorum, I'd like to take a roll, and if we could start with Mr. Randall, introducing yourself.
Yeah, Brendan Randall. I'm here and present.
Terrence Clark, Marion County Prosecutor's Office.
Linda Crushine.
Jeffrey Marshall, Mayor and Superior Court.
Turn your mics on.
Robert Hill, Public Defender.
Leroy Robinson, City Council.
Charnette Garner, Marion Superior Court.
Timothy Bolton, FSSA.
Chesley Coleman Miller, civilian, Indianapolis, Ascension Health. Forget where I work.
Shania Graves, mental health advocate.
Thank you. So what we need to do today is approve the addition of Veterans Court and the prosecutor's submissions to the grant, the DOC grant. So we will be hearing from Judge Serto from Veterans Court and Harold Johnston.
Madam Chair, members of the board, we're very grateful for your time today. I was out of town for your last meeting, but I'd emphasize at outset, we're not requesting any change in financing for what we're doing. But I would say that we've had a significant policy change in the last year that I want you to be aware of because you're our partners in what we're doing. With the help of the prosecutor's office and our partners at the Public Defender Agency, we are reaching deeper into the pool for veterans who especially are charged with operating a vehicle while intoxicated. In Iraq, if you're driving too fast with a gun on the seat, that might be a great strategy to stay alive. If you're doing it in Lawrence and you're intoxicated, it's a sign something going's terribly wrong. So we're working really hard to get veterans who the evidence tell us are less likely to get arrested and more likely to succeed when treatment is applied properly, the opportunity to get things back on track, to enter the civilian workforce, and other than prior criminal history, a good job is the second best predictor of not getting arrested again. And once we do those things, we surround people with the team that they're used to in the military. Usually, they're going to be the kind of model citizens and employees that we all need and want as neighbors. So we're very grateful to work on your behalf, but we can't do it without you. We have 3 different sources of grant funding. It's the 10006 money that helps with supervision officers. Our Supreme Court supports some of the infrastructure. Lieutenant Colonel Johnston retired, and our mentor coordinator. We also have money for programming that comes to us. So we're very grateful. And we're moving to 2 grant years instead of 3. It used to be calendar year, state fiscal year, and federal fiscal year. Now it looks more like we're just going to be on federal and state fiscal year. But we want to focus on serving veterans, and we also want to be great at grants. So thank you for your support and your help. We're happy to answer any questions. It's our great privilege to work on your behalf. I'm not a veteran, but that's one reason I'm so eager to make sure that we keep the promises we made to people who did serve, like Colonel Johnston, who could tell you in great detail about his service, especially in Afghanistan.
Are there any questions?
I have a comment. This is a really strong program that your court's running, and Lieutenant Colonel Johnston, is that? It's really a great program. It's helped a lot of people, and I think it's a great idea that we're going to widen the funnel so we can get more people into the program.
Well, as you point out, Mr. Hill, the people we're trying to serve are ones we really want to keep away from prison.
Right.
And very often, it's not your first arrest that gets you into problem-solving court. We often have to look at a felony charge to convince someone to do a program like ours, because it's hard. For a misdemeanor charge, at least a year. For a felony charge, at least a year and a half. And very often for people accused of or adjudicated guilty of DUI, we're going to start with a period of time on a breathalyzer where we're going to see every waking moment how you're doing on your promise to sobriety. But once we have the infrastructure built around you to help you keep that promise, maybe it gets easier. Maybe you haven't tried sobriety before, so you're not really good at it. But we work on those things. I'd also say that prison very often makes things more difficult rather than easier. So to the extent we can help keep people away, our objectives dovetail with the objectives of the Department of Correction in funding us in the first place. So we're working really hard, again, with our great partners. So thanks again to you and to Prosecutor Mears.
My only observation is we need to get more people into the program.
Yes, sir, there is that. But again, the incentives, our competition is not drug court or mental health court. Our competition is a time-served plea. Going back to sleeping in your car or in somebody's basement. Mm-hmm. We think our veterans deserve better than that. And for people who really want to make a change, our program's there. But it's hard. It's difficult.
Preaching to the choir here.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
So I'm going to move that we, when it comes time, that we approve this.
Thanks, sir.
We will put that motion on the table.
I have a quick question.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any programs or trainings to address any racial disparities for the veterans that you're serving, just to make sure that that disproportionality rate doesn't be overwhelming? We
report all of our statistics, intake and outflow, to our partners at the federal and state level, and they help us run that analysis. One of the challenges we face, frankly, is sample size. We'll typically have 52, 47, approximately 50 veterans involved at any one time. Some of them on the way in, some of them graduating. But the difficulty in a sample size that small is a couple of people getting arrested can throw off your recidivism numbers. A few less intakes can really disproportionately change the numbers too. What I can tell you is, by and large, we are serving a disproportionate number of Marines. We're serving more women than we were, and we're really excited about that. We got to meet recently a Navy corpsman. She's come to us after taking care of a bunch of Marines. Now is our chance to help her. Specifically on race, on gender, we track all that, and we report it to our partners for the grants. We're vigilant about that, and we're excited about it. We just hired a new supervision officer, and we're hoping to hire another. So as turnover in this environment happens, if you know somebody who's looking for good work, we've preferred to hire and have exclusively hired fully loaded, fully trained, state-certified probation officers, and we'd love to have more. We're very excited that one of our mentor coordinators has just announced his retirement. He's earned it. He's retired previously twice, but we'll be hiring a new mentor coordinator as well. We're excited about that possibility. But continuity in our program is critical, and we're very grateful that Colonel Johnston's been with us for a while, and I've been with the program since its inception. This board's a critical partner, and I'd be delighted to talk with you or have you come visit. We're there every Friday morning. It's a public meeting. We talk about what's going on in treatment to the extent of whether you're going and whether you're advancing. We don't talk about whether you're interested in mom or trauma or any of those things. Those are treatment issues that stay private. But it's a public program, and we're very grateful when people come see what we're doing, especially to thank the veterans we serve. Did I address your question, sir?
Yes.
Yeah, great.
And the only reason I asked that is just to make sure that specific issue is being addressed.
Yes, sir.
Because I know with the criminal justice system in general is very much an issue. And so if you're trying to keep people away from that institution, just inquiring on what protocols, what training you have to address racial equity within the veterans that you're serving.
We are planning to go to the National Association of Drug Court Professionals training in Nashville in July. It's considered the gold standard for training for problem-solving courts. They have a separate arm called Justice for Vets that has a separate track at that program, and that's always an issue on their training agenda. So I'm very grateful we continue to be vigilant for it. We also work hard to match mentors who are appropriate too. So if you're a Marine with a Marine, Iraq with Iraq, women with women. So we work very hard to make sure we have a ready pool of mentors who look like the community, and that we're able to match people with mentors who provide accountability, but also a level of familiarity I can't provide because I'm not a veteran. Plus, they record every word I say. I'm not allowed to speak like Marines often speak to Marines, if what I hear is correct.
Thank you.
Yes, sir, of course.
Thank you. Mr. Johnston, did you have anything to share?
I just want to say I'm very proud to work with Veterans Court. I'm a retired prosecuting attorney, former police officer, and 30-year veteran of the U.S. military, both Navy and Army, and Iraq and Afghanistan, 3 combat tours. And moving from being a prosecutor to running the Veterans Court, what's great about this is that we can match these veterans up with the services that they've earned. One of the problems is when you retire or get discharged, the VA doesn't go looking for you. You have to get hooked up with them, and that's where the breakdown happens. We have a representative of the Department of Veterans Affairs who works with our court directly, so we can get that one-on-one interface that's a lot of times the veterans just don't realize what benefits they have. I know when I got my out briefing, they basically gave me a piece of cake and said, thank you for your service, and there's the door. So that what Judge Serto's built with that relationship is really crucial to get them the drug treatment, the training, the employment services, and that type that really helps them out.
Well, I don't have cake, but from the heart, thank you for your service. So we have a motion on the floor to pass or to approve this portion of the DOC grant application by Public Defender Hill. I was going to call you prosecutor, but Public Defender Hill. Do we have a second?
Second.
So it has been motion and seconded. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none. All in favor?
Aye.
And all those against? Motion passes. It is approved. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am,
Thank
very
you very
much.
much.
Thanks to you all, especially to my colleagues on the court. I work for and with them.
You have amazing volunteers too. They used to meet at 8:00 a.m. exactly in our offices.
They
so
continue to do that.
They're
ma'am.
amazing.
And we're very grateful. As we get to the new facility, we'll be in the lower level where all the problem-solving courts will be housed, and we'll have a meeting room for veterans with hot coffee and a closed door.
Perfect.
Yes, ma'am. They close the door behind them because what they do is between them. Thank you.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
Next, we will be hearing from the prosecutor's diversion grant grants manager, Mary Ann Black.
Actually, it's Grants Manager Terry Kirks. Mary Ann is out of town.
Ah,
So, good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of the Marion County Prosecutor Ryan Mears and the Marion County Prosecutor's Office, thank you for having us today and for your consideration of our Community Corrections Grant proposal. The Marion County Prosecutor's Office is applying for funding for its pretrial felony diversion program from the Indiana Department of Corrections. If awarded, this funding allows Marion County Prosecutor's Office to address the criminogenic needs of individuals facing level 5 and level 6 felony charges. The program is an effort to reduce the long-term recidivism risk of these people while simultaneously ensuring public safety and allocating limited criminal justice resources effectively. The pretrial diversion program provides evidence-based programming designed to improve the participants' quality of life and increase their resilience, thereby reducing recidivism and breaking the cycle of criminal activity. The diversion program provides participants, most whom have substance abuse disorder, with structure, guidance, and access to wraparound services designed around their individual needs. These services promote positive behavioral changes. In addition, participants receive the incentive of a plea agreement and dismissal of the charges if they successfully complete all the requirements of their individualized program. We are requesting funding for salary and fringe benefits for 1 deputy prosecutor and 1 probation officer. The deputy prosecutor oversees the program, and the probation officer develops the individual plan development. Minimal funding is requested for operational costs. In addition, we are requesting funding to pay for the wraparound services. If funded, we will contract with AdverHealth for substance abuse, PACE, Fall Creek Counseling, Alpha Counseling for MRT, anti-theft, GED, and other counseling and educational classes. In total, we are requesting $220,992 from the IDOC Community Corrections Grant, and we respectfully request the board's approval of the application.
thank you for coming down. So we have a motion for approval to submit this portion of the prosecutor's portion of the grant to the full DOC submission. Do we have a motion to approve?
I would move.
A second? Second. Is there a motion and second? Is there any discussion?
What is the retention rate of the graduate?
Can you repeat that?
What is the retention rate in which they are graduating?
I think the last quarter that we have statistics for, we have a little over a 70% graduation rate actually completing the program, and even for those who do not complete, over 80% of those people who go through the program but don't complete remain crime-free for at least a year. I'd also add in addition, we collected over $30,000 worth of restitution for victims since the program's inception.
Excellent. Any additional comments?
Just real quick, what was the total amount requested?
Let me put my glasses back on. $220,992.
Any additional? Seeing none? So we'll take the vote. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All against?
Counsel for the record to show us as abstaining.
Linda and Terrence will be abstaining. Awesome. Thank you. All against? Again, hearing none. This motion is passed. And it's approved. Thank you very much. I
Thank
appreciate
you very
it.
much.
So we have a slight addition. So we have probation here for a grant modification. To give us a quick update, quick update.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Deputy Chief Probation Officer Freddie Campbell here on behalf of Chief Probation Officer Kristen Curl, and the Probation Department is seeking an amendment to the Juvenile Community Corrections Grant for purposes of salaries and fringes to electronic monitoring costs and additional training hours for staff.
Are there any questions, discussions, comments?
What training do we have in mind in regard to that?
So staff at this time are permitted to do within the department, the community adjustment staff who are funded under this grant, we permit them to do certain training such as safe crisis management, which would help them better adjust with dealing with juveniles who are in crisis for their safety as well as officer safety, probation officer safety.
And is this an evidence-based practice?
It is an evidence-based practice, yes.
Just like holds and stuff like that?
There are holds involved, but essentially, as long as you're utilizing the process effectively, you should not have to get to the point of holds. It's mostly motivational interviewing.
Good. Any additional comments? So we'll move to take a vote on approving the modification of this community corrections grant for the probation division. Can I have a motion?
Motion.
And a second?
Second.
Any additional discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone against? Seeing none, hearing none, it is approved. Thank you.
Thank you all.
We will now move forward with Marion County Community Corrections contracts. Chief Financial Officer, Ms. Natrina DeVoe.
Good afternoon, board members. Actually, Director Hull is going to speak, and I'll just help if necessary.
Well, probably definitely be necessary. Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board. We have two contracts that we would request the board's approval for today. First one is a simple one. We would like to enter into an agreement with Meticulous, a building design consulting firm, to look at the possibility and requirements for a new combined community corrections facility, which would be both a new work release facility for us, combined with our case management space. As you know, we're currently at 1848 Ludlow for the Duval work release facility and 40 South Alabama for our case management. This would be determining what type of building, what size of building, and a rough cost estimate of a new facility for us, and then find potential locations such as the CJC campus. We would begin work as soon as this board approves. We have a proposal from Meticulous that we've reviewed. Council for us has reviewed it. We have a tentative contract ready to be signed. Both sides have agreed to it with a not to exceed of $60,000 for that engagement. And we believe it would probably come in a little below that, but that would be the not to exceed. And we would be able to move forward on this, frankly, as soon as this board gives its approval, if it chooses to. So I'll take any questions regarding that. Yes.
Yes, sir.
This is only for design. Is this also for location? Do you have
And location.
Okay, do you have a location at CJC?
No, the location will really be largely dependent upon the size of the building.
My understanding from conversations with the controller is that there is space available at the CJC, but it really is dependent on how large our facility ends up being, what our space needs are. So that will really determine whether CJC is an option or if we have to look at something nearby or another option.
Okay, that was the next question then. If it's not on the campus itself, you're talking about some of the land adjacent to the campus?
If it's not on the campus, we would be looking to see what parcels as close to that campus it can, as long as it's still on public transportation. That is our, along with being on the campus, that is our first requirement, is being connected to public transportation.
Okay, and are they going to help you plan space for the future in this endeavor?
That would be our intent, is to, our intent would be to design a building that would not just be for 2023 or you know, whenever that building was completed, but also to allow for what the future of community corrections might look like, which, as this board may remember, we've already entered into an agreement for a strategic plan, so these two things will be going parallel and hand in hand. So I think it's, timing-wise, it's good for us.
Thank you. Welcome, Director Hall. Talk to us about how this is budgeted for, these type of requests are budgeted for in your budget.
So right now, our ongoing cost would be able to be put towards this new facility and any savings by the combining of these two facilities, because that's one of the reasons. There are two reasons why we need a combined facility. One is process-wise, we will be more efficient as an agency, but also right now we have duplicative costs because we're paying for two different buildings. This would allow savings that could then go towards this new building. The other thing is by vacating Duval, that is a city-controlled property, and the sale of that property would then be able to go towards the cost of a new facility as well. Beyond that, any additional funding or anything, frankly, the controller and I, the conversation has been left at, let's see what the number potentially looks like, and then we will work towards a solution.
Yes, ma'am.
Me?
Mhm.
Oh. I just need some clarity about, is Crane House part of, like, the women's part of the fall, or is that gonna be included in that?
So going forward, that is another where we would find cost savings. So right now, we have to contract out women's work release at Crane House. The idea would be that in this combined facility, we would have a secure wing, you know, adhering to correction standards that would allow us to have female work release in-house. And again, not have that contract, there would be savings there. Frankly, we feel like we could do that at a cheaper rate than what we're paying on that contract. And there would be more consistency in how we operate, you know, between our male and female residents then, as opposed to working with a private contractor. They have their own rules. They largely mirror ours, but there are some differences.
Are there any other comments? I just wanted to ask one other question. Meticulous, do they have an XBE status?
I should know this answer.
Yes.
They do.
Which one?
That's our representative from
Sorry.
Meticulous.
They're a minority.
They're awesome.
Yeah, they are an MBE. I thought they were, I was 90% sure, but I didn't want to get out of turn there. So, yes, Ramon Morrison and I have spoken a few times, and I know they've engaged with the city on a couple other projects. I think specifically IMPD's new Northwest District building. I believe they've done some others as well, but you know, they were highly recommended by both IMPD and some others within the enterprise. So we're excited to work with them going forward.
Excellent. So just in case it wasn't heard, they're an MBE.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's what I heard, right?
Yes.
Okay. Excellent. So are we voting on this contract?
Yes.
Hmm. So we'll just go to the next contract and vote them. Okay. We're gonna vote on the contract. So, can I have a motion to approve the contract? We have a first, you have a second? Any additional discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? All against? Hearing none, it is passed.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move to the next contract.
Second one might be a little bit less detailed, but I hope that my explanation will be sufficient. We're intending to enter into an agreement with Securitas as a private security firm. As this board has probably heard from me the last few months, our staffing shortages at Duval have been pretty severe, and not only are they not improving, it has actually gone down a little bit. Largely, we're just struggling to find applicants, and we're obviously not unique to that. I know the sheriff is struggling in the same way with regard to jail detention deputies, but we're at kind of a critical staffing level at this point, and it really kind of necessitates us looking at all options. We are getting by right now with overtime, but I just don't believe that that's sustainable. One, from a budget standpoint, it's just inefficient, and two, we have kind of the same core of individuals who are doing this overtime, and they were a tremendous benefit to our agency. They are doing a great job, but we're, to be blunt, we're burning them at both ends of the candle, and we just can't continue to ask them to give and give and give, and we need to find a way to take some of that pressure off of them and find some relief. We are asking to enter into an agreement with Securitas. They are the city's kind of preferred vendor. They are on the state QPA, which means that their rates have already been negotiated and agreed upon as the lowest rates. That allows us to move much more quickly in this process. We have just a draft of an agreement at this time. There is a not to exceed, only because we're kind of open-ended on how many people we'll be able to get from them. And here's what I do know, though, is that the most we would be paying for a security guard through Securitas would be $28 an hour. And for us to cover overtime for individuals at Duval right now, we're paying $32 an hour. So no matter no matter how long we do this and how many people we employ, we would be saving $4 an hour relative to what we pay our own staff to do that overtime. So I understand that is somewhat open-ended, and I apologize for that, but we don't know how many people we're going to be able to get at this point. It will likely be between 2 and 4 people per shift that we would be paying, and then the amount of time that we would have them is open-ended until we can begin filling our positions. What I would say to the board is that as we fill our positions, we would, for every person we can bring on, we would decrease the contract with, or decrease the number that we bring in as private security. It would be a one-for-one exchange there. But that's, I can't be definite on timeframes just because the hiring at this point has been so slow. And I understand and apologize for the ambiguity in this request, but I do hope for the board's approval to be able to move forward on if nothing else, knowing that on a per hour basis, we would be saving $4 an hour, and it would be only until we can get our numbers up to a safe staffing level. With that, I'll take any questions.
Yeah, I do have a question. Will they be going through the standard training protocol that your regular officers?
They will be going through, I would not call it a standard. They will go through everything that they would need to maintain Duval standards as far as the safety, security in the dorms specifically, and working control. There's some community corrections kind of writ large, requirements that our other COs would go through that are, really isn't pertinent to this. But as far as our standards and how they interact with our clients and our residents, they would be held to the exact same standard and would go through that exact same training.
Yeah, because my concern was the cultural aspect of that. Because usually if you're hired on at Duval, you kind of know what that you're
Yes.
kind of getting into, right?
Yep.
And so you're expecting that training. But general Securitas employees may not be culturally or contextually prepared for that.
Right.
And so just making sure that they're able to get training to increase their cultural knowledge, but also to decrease possible conflicts.
Right, so in order to decrease that, we're doing two things. One is obviously they will go through that training, but before that, we've already put forward what our trainings are, what our expectations are, as a kind of a standard protocol, and provided that to Securitas, and they will use that to kind of screen who they would then be able to move towards us, which is one of the reasons why we don't know exactly how many, because their general manager even said not every security officer they have would be a good fit for us, and we want to try to find, to your point, the ones that would most fit and align with what we need at Duval.
And then my last question is, what protocols do you have in place to reduce the likelihood of a conflict of interest? Like if somebody knows somebody, right? Just to kind of minimize that likelihood, I guess.
Right, that is part of the kind of the contract, and part of the agreement is if there is someone that says, for example, I mean, it is very possible that the guard has already started with us, and then someone is brought to Duval and they went to high school together or whatever. They would have the same requirement that our staff do, which is just that they make us aware of that. That doesn't necessarily disqualify anything. Then we're aware of that, and we make sure that we try to avoid any one-on-one situations with them. But it's basically just a communication piece.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Any additional comments? So one that I have a question. So will the contract security the shifts be interwoven with the FTEs?
Yes.
Okay.
So it would be, each of our shifts would still be majority Marion County Community Corrections employees. It would be anywhere between 2 and 3 Securitas staff being added. Well, I guess I should say it would be 1 to 3, depending on what they can provide.
Excellent.
I do have a question. If I may. This is supported by our budget.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
are we going to have to ask for additional funds
No.
for this?
No additional appropriation will be needed.
All right. And this is something that I gather you guys think is the best plan for your agency at this point?
Yes, honestly, I've tried to avoid this as
Yeah.
long as I could, but this is where we're at now. We can't sustain the current situation. And frankly, from a budget standpoint, this will actually be, in the long run, cost less than continuing to burn through the overtime that we are.
And you've talked about staffing shortages and how that impacts the ratios, and the courts and sheriff's department are wanting us to expand our utilization of Duval.
Yeah, when that public health order is lifted, that would be, then those conversations will have
So
to
these
start
things
as
are all
well.
coming together just
Correct.
down the road. Okay.
Yes.
I'm going to support this.
What is the tentative timeline to keep Securitas contracted with us prior to, you mentioned a one-for-one kind of.
Yeah, so as
plan.
we hire on new staff and can gain a corrections officer, we would drop a security staff. So every time we gain someone, we would drop off the security. Unfortunately, I can't give a timeline, only because honestly, right now, our pipeline of corrections officers coming in is just very sporadic. I believe we have 1 in training right now. I believe we have only 1 scheduled to start training in June. And that could go up, we might be able to find, we may have another applicant between now and then, but it's just been very difficult to find prospects at this point.
Excellent. Any additional comments? So we have a motion.
I'll move.
Thank you. Thank you. Ready to go. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And then finally, Executive Director, do you have any updates for us?
One thing I want to mention, and then I'll take any questions and I will be done. I believe I mentioned an overdose that occurred the Saturday before Easter that was pretty serious. I just want to publicly, one more time, kind of mention this. That individual is actually going home. He went home Monday. He still has obstacles, still has hurdles, but the young man is still alive. And I'm not trying to overstate this, but we had 4 staff that because of them, he is home and with his family right now. That's Sergeant Andre Jimerson, Isaac Oliverisimo, Don Wythe, and Edra Pierce. And their actions on that Saturday before Easter is what allowed that man to go home. And again, he still has obstacles and hurdles that he will face, that he has to work through going forward, but he is alive and with his family now because of the actions of those 4, and I just wanted to publicly recognize them and thank them for everything that they did. Other than that, I have no other updates, and I will take any questions.
Yes, sir.
This young man was in my court,
Correct.
and so I wanted to thank you all for all the work you did in updating myself and Judge Stoner throughout all this to keep us apprised of what's going on.
Any additional? If not, then we are, well, I will say this counts for our May meeting. So I will see you all in June. Thank you. We are adjourned.